how dangerous could this girl possibly be? Turns out pretty dangerous. So I used to live in this commune in Reseda, California for a bit. It was like a fun, creative hostel, almost like a halfway house. And I lived in a room with 2 other guys that were very good friends of mine. But there was a 4th empty bed in our room as well. So I went home for a weekend to visit my family, and apparently they had filled that 4th bed while I was gone. And when I came back to the commune, I was expecting my 2 friends to be excited to see me. But the second I walked into that yard, they were waiting for me with terrified looks on their faces. And one of them looked right in my face and said, "Dude, we have to tell you something. We got a 4th roommate while I was gone." And apparently it was a little Asian girl. She was small and skinny with long black hair. And he told me, and I quote, "She is the scariest person that I have ever met." So they're telling me that the first day that she moved in, which was a day while I was gone, she was normal and she was sweet. But then she started to talk about bad energy and the fact that there was bad energy everywhere. And she started walking around this entire place saging everything. She'd be saging people's rooms, she'd be saging the entire yard, and as she continued to smudge anything and everything, the other tenants that lived there started to get concerned and they started reporting it to the landlord. So the landlord storms in like she's gonna fix the problem right away. But her solution is taking this girl to the local psychic. So they toss her in a car, drive her over to this psychic, and this is what the psychic said to her: "The bad energy isn't around you. The bad energy is you." And that's when things got way worse. She totally stopped sleeping. She started standing in the yard all day and night. And she wasn't just standing, she was balancing on one foot while squeezing her fist so tightly that you could see the white on her knuckles. And when people would approach her to see if she was okay, she would shuffle away. She wouldn't walk, she wouldn't run, she would shuffle with one foot in front of the other. And when she needed to turn left or right, she would pivot. We thought that was very strange, so we Googled, why would somebody only make sharp turns in their walks? And the top search result was, demons can only move in straight lines. So that was super comforting for us. So she was acting like this in the yard for days. But every single night, the landlord would force her to go back into our room because she didn't want her standing out in the yard all night, freaking out any of the other tenants. So this is when it starts to get bad. One morning, I left, the other roommate left, and Josie was the only one sleeping in that morning with her still in the room. And while he was sleeping, she slowly poked his spine with her pointer finger. And when he jumped and freaked out and confronted her, all she said to him was, "I don't think you're safe in this room alone with me." And my man replied, "I think you're right," and got out of there. But it gets so much worse. Sit tight. The girl eventually snapped out of it. Woohoo! And she apologized to everybody, "Thank you very much." She started sleeping and she would spend her days on her laptop working out in the yard, but things around the commune kept getting weirder, even though she got better. People's stuff started going missing. Your last bag of chips gone, the toilet paper roll that you just bought gone, your new toothbrush gone. Everybody thought it was only happening to them. So once enough stuff went missing, the tension in the commune boiled over, and it got to the point where everybody demanded that the landlord play the security footage so we could all see who's stealing. So we all agreed to watch it together in the common area on the big screen TV. So we all sit down, we turn on the TV, she pulls up the security footage, and it immediately rewinds to a motion detected moment from in the yard at night. And the freeze frame that it paused on was the most disturbing image that I had ever seen. There was a community pool table that was right in the middle of the yard. And on top of that pool table was the girl that we had thought had gotten better, and she was balancing on one foot exactly like she was doing it a few days prior. So we checked the date of the footage, and it was the night after she convinced us that she was okay and stopped her bizarre behavior. It was a total act. The second everybody went to sleep, she got up out of bed and went right back to what she was doing. And we're watching her on the security footage, shuffling through the yard in the middle of the night. And every hour on the hour, she would shuffle to a new spot. And once the sun started to come up, she shuffled over to her laptop and pretended that she got up early to work. But this is where it gets bizarre. When people would leave their rooms to go to the bathroom or go to work, she would stand up and hustle to their room, and she'd start fiddling with their belongings. But whatever she touched, she would jam in her pockets and go throw it out in the dumpster out front. Mind you, we are all sitting and reviewing this footage together in this little living room, and she's pretending to work on her laptop, 30 feet away from us. So the landlord switches to the live feed camera that's behind her and zooms in on her computer screen. And we all watch this girl pretend to work on an empty screen. So we all look at her to make sure that she's still sitting over there before we all look back at the screen and review the overnight footage for the past 3 nights. And each night gets progressively worse. So by that time, the landlord had moved her to a different room because we were so uncomfortable. So it was the first night we got a peaceful night's sleep without somebody in our room. But she clearly missed her old bedroom because she shuffled up to our sliding glass door and stood in front of it after we had all fallen asleep. And every 20 minutes, she would reach for the handle and try to pull it open. But luckily, we had it locked. And we watched her reach for the handle hour after hour after hour until it seemed like she had a bright idea. And she shuffled around the house into the back gangway to get to the window to our room, and she slid it open, silently crawled in, and made her way to the darkest corner of our room and tucked herself away in the shadows just in case any of us got up. And she stayed there for hours. And then right before we all woke up, she climbed back out of the window and went back to her fake workstation as if she didn't spend the whole night in the corner of our bedroom. So the second night, we're expecting to see the same thing, for her to come to our bedroom and be creepy again. But it was somebody else's turn. One of the other dudes that lived at this commune was a Twitch streamer, and he was up super late streaming every night. So he would take late night bathroom breaks, and we watched her wait for him to leave to go to the bathroom. And as he was in there, she slipped into his bedroom and slid under his bed. Even after he came back in and gamed for hours, she stayed under his bed. And once he fell asleep, she crawled out from under his bed and went to stand in the corner of his room. And then right before his alarm went off, when she knew that he was going to be getting up soon, she crawled back under his bed, let him get ready for his day and leave, and only crawled out after he left for work. The third night, she targeted another roommate. There was a mother and daughter that lived in a room together, and the daughter was a background dancer, and she had a gig one night, so they got all dressed up, they got ready, and they headed out for the night. And this girl shuffled around the house the other way. She climbed in through the window and stood in front of this girl's mirror in her bedroom for 3 hours straight. She stared at herself. And right before the mother and daughter came home, she scurried over to her closet and hid in this girl's closet. And she stayed in that closet until this mother and daughter went to sleep. And once they were sound asleep, she came out of the closet, walked right up to the bedside, and hovered over the daughter for another 2 hours. This was the first night that it felt personal. She was looking at this girl like she was filled with envy, and at one point, she was holding her hands near this girl's sleeping face, like a few inches away from her face, as if she was trying to absorb her beauty with her hands. And she repeatedly pretended to grab the girl's face and put it on her own. She did it until the sun came up, and right before the sun came up, she shuffled back into her closet. And the worst part about it was that she was wearing the daughter's dance outfit the entire night while she was standing over her. But the fourth night was by far the worst. She targeted the father and the young son that lived in one of the trailers on the property. We watched the father take his son to get a late night cheeseburger, and during that time, she scurried over to their trailer, slipped in their door, and hid behind their TV. And she waited behind that TV until they came home, watched their late night cartoons together, and fell fast asleep. And once they were out cold, she slipped out from behind the TV, and she did something unforgivable. She gently woke the son up and told him to be quiet, to not wake his father. She bribed him with candy and took him by the wrist and took him out of the room, and she walked him all the way to the back of the property. And the only thing that we could see from the security footage was her bringing this little boy behind the bushes all the way in the back corner. And when they were back there, they were out of sight from the cameras. And 1 hour later, she brought him back to the room, but we noticed that there was a ribbon tied around his wrist. But she shuffled him back in, tucked him into bed, and slipped out of the room. And as everybody's sitting in shock, looking at the father to see if he's gonna freak out, Josie says, "Where did she go?" And we all look back to where she was working on her laptop, and she's not there anymore. But when we turn all the way around, and we look through the window behind us, we're watching her watching us find out about what she's been doing. And she takes off running, and the father goes after her.